last video for the day. Chen, previously known as Roaming Millennial. Um, and I want to see what this is about gaming journalists push Roe. So if anyone's not sure what Roe is, I think it's called Roe versus Wade or some shit like that. It's basically something that has to do with women's rights for an abortion. It's a very complicated subject. Overall, I personally don't care too much about the abortion stuff. I don't want politics in my games overall. The abortion thing, look, what needs to happen, in my opinion, my modest opinion, is yes, women should have autonomy over their body. I think everyone can agree to that. If their life is at risk from the baby, obviously their life comes first. However, there also needs to be a clear line. Okay, there should be a clear line of what is considered a life where the baby could technically survive even without being in the womb. It's just better for the baby and it's safer for the baby to be in the womb. And at that point, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to abort the baby. You should have made the decision earlier. Like it's kind of like no going back on this bullshit now, okay? Because that is a life. Now, personally, I don't care too much about this. Even if abortion was at 8 months, it's not a hill I'm gonna die on. However, the perspective from the right is that a life is a life, and you can't just like kill life for like no reason because you made a mistake. And like I don't want to call it like really from the left, but that's what kind of like is more pushed from the left is that women's body is their own and no one should decide what they should do with it. And as a man, especially, stay out of this discussion. It's their body; they'll do whatever they want. However, I do find some hypocrisy about this "my body, my choice" when it came to stuff like COVID and the vaccine. Okay, so there's some hypocrisy on that. I don't really agree. But overall, when it comes to pregnancy and stuff, I don't really have much to say about it. In my opinion, look, you made the mistake. Usually, if you make a mistake, you gotta pay for it. You gotta live with the consequences. If you didn't, and with so many things that you can do to avoid pregnancy these days, if you get to a point where you're like 6 months pregnant and you still didn't abort, I mean, like, bro, like that's kind of on you, right? There are stuff I don't like about the whole pregnancy things, which is like if the father. So here's the thing. So it's like if the father doesn't want the baby and the woman does, the father will still have to pay alimony. If the but if the mother doesn't want the baby and the father does, you have no say in the matter. To the father, like the father has no say in the matter. I feel like that's a bit of a bullshit. It's like you have to give like it's like he's also a part of this, right? It's like how come he has no voice in the matter regardless of what happens, right? I feel like that's a bit bullshit, and I feel like that is weaponized. I'm not saying en masse, but it is overall. It's possible for women to weaponize this against men, and they do, which I really, really don't like about the subject. But either way, this is something that should not go into gaming. So let's see what Chen has to say about this when it comes to a gaming journalist.
Lauren here. Let's talk about the video games industry and the likely upcoming repeal of Roe versus Wade. Now, in a perfect world, these two topics, video games.
Now, by the way, she, I believe, is Canadian, so this also doesn't have much to do with her. Like because this is not a thing that is happening in Canada. This is happening in the States, but it could. Gaming is worldwide, so that couldn't be an issue.
And Supreme Court rulings on abortion, they would have nothing to do with each other because, well, they have nothing to do with each other. But we don't.
Also, by the way, the ruling, basically, what the Roe versus Wade ruling was by the Supreme Court is basically that this is not something for the federal government to decide. This is needed to be decided based on states. So technically, yes, I know this can affect like people who are like more Poor can't really, like, it doesn't help them. However, if let's say your state doesn't allow you to have abortions, you can go to a different state and get an abortion. It's legal there, right? Like that's what it means to be to like have the state decide. If Texas doesn't allow it, just go to like New York or some shit. Go to California or whatever, like wherever it is allowed, and get it. It sucks. Yeah, people who are poor, this is like not a good option. But again, man, you make mistakes, you gotta live with the consequences. If you can't figure out Plan B in a condom, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I feel more bad for the kid who's going to be born to a family like that than for the parents.
Live in a perfect world. No, no, we live in a world where everything, including video games, is political. The other day, regarding the
Yes,
spill this week,
unfortunately.
Bungie, this huge video games company, if you're not familiar with it already, they
Yeah.
posted this to their Twitter account. They said standing up for reproductive choice and liberty is not a difficult decision to make, and Bungie remains dedicated to upholding these values.
Why? Look, I'm not playing any Bungie games. To be honest, what games did they do? I know they did Destiny, and I think they did Halo. Standing up for reproductive choice and liberty is not a difficult decision to make. But it's not a decision a gaming company should make, so Bungie remains dedicated to upholding these values. You have a reproductive, like, this is what, like, even the wording is bad. Standing up for reproductive choice and liberty is not a difficult decision to make. Again, what is this whole argument from the right boils down to? What do you consider a life? If you consider something a life, it needs to have X, whatever rights a human life has. That's all there is to it, right? You have no right over someone's life. Like, you have no right to kill something unless it's threatening your life. That is basically what like one of your basic human rights, the right to live, right? So as soon as you consider something as a life, that's when all of this, like, okay, well, you're taking away the liberty of the infant, right? And again, that's not really my argument. I don't really have any, like, I don't really care that much, right? But it's like the arguments are this, right? These are basically the arguments, right? It's like if you consider something is a life, it has values, it has human values. Sorry, it has human rights, and one of the rights is that you can't choose to kill something without its consent, and that's what you're doing here. Even though it is in your own body, unless it's threatening you, you have no right to kill it, right? That's basically like it's a basic human right kind of thing, right? And I think that's the argument from the right overall. So this this is not like this with kind of contradicts itself as a whole.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's really interesting how it seems like pro choice advocates really only talk about freedom and liberty when it comes to abortion. I mean, when it comes to things like the Second Amendment, free speech, taxation, you really don't hear them all too concerned about liberty. But
COVID,
all of a sudden,
the
when it
coof.
comes to the ability to abort babies, they love liberty and they hate the government telling them what to do. It's almost like, if you ask me, they don't actually care about liberty because they're loved as authoritarians and they simply love abortion, and they'll use whatever buzzwords they think will help get you on their side. But in any case, I digress. That Twitter post linked to a longer
I agree.
statement on their website. The
The,
statement read,
the problem is there's like so much hypocrisy in these statements that's like if you take any other subjects, their statement either completely changes or they just say, well, you don't understand my points. Like, yeah, I do, but you don't understand what you're saying, right? It's like people don't understand their own hypocrisy. Holy shit, this light is really messing up the contrast, doesn't it? uh, that's as much as I can do. Let's see if I can make it like a yellow light. Would that be better? I think that's actually worse. Yeah, that's actually worse. Whatever, we'll go with this. Budget, blah, 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 blah. Your own path, and that freedom is expressed across all facets of life. All facets of life. Again, like that's the argument. What do you consider life? The leaked draft decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade represents a blow to freedom in America and is a direct attack on human rights. Actually, no, it's not a blow to freedom. It actually increases freedom because the states are going to be free to decide what they want to do with it. And if you don't like what your state is doing, vote for the other party. Bungie is committed to safeguarding the freedom and privacy of its employees and providing support to all employees affected by this decision. What, are they traumatized by this?
At Bungie, we believe that everyone has a right
Oh
to
my
choose their
god,
own path and
man.
that freedom is expressed across all facets of life. Again, I haven't really heard Bungie speak on other issues related to liberty.
Yep.
Let's continue. They said the leaked draft decision by the US Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade represents a blow to freedom in America and is a direct attack on human rights. The statement also said that Bungie is committed to safeguarding the freedom and privacy of its employees and providing support to all employees affected by this decision. Standing up for reproductive choice and liberty, that word again, is not a difficult decision to make, and Bungie remains dedicated to upholding these
The
values. And they
hypocrisy
then linked
here,
to a bunch of pro
or
choice
the
organizations
irony.
that they encouraged people to donate to. Now, predictably on Twitter, because Twitter is a cesspool of leftists, this post was very
I
popular.
mean, it
Tens
is
of
what it
thousands
is.
of likes, and if you look through the replies, most of them were overwhelmingly positive. But the thing is, and this is
Probably because the like right wing are just not gonna even. I don't know a lot of conservatives that play video games. Let's just say it like that. So it's like they don't even know that Bungie said anything.
something that I don't know if Bungie has considered. Twitter is not real life, and the demographics of
100%.
Twitter aren't necessarily the demographics of their customer
No, of
base.
course
And
not.
you know what?
Go to, let's say, Trust. What's the Donald Trump thing called? Or what's the other one that is like Twitter like with free speech? I forgot the name, but because I haven't used it ever. But it's like you go to those ones and like you'll get the exact opposite, right? It's like you just have whatever amount of people here that are like on one side and then whatever amount of people there on the other side. It's like you're gonna get very contradicting statistics.
But if you ask me, it kind of seems like this choice to come out in support of abortion was probably done more to cater to left wing activists like those you might find on Twitter rather than, I don't know, their actual customers. And I think that's pretty clear when you look through
Yep.
the replies to that original post. Paige Lightman, who appears from her profile,
Hey, I've never played a Bungie game before. Just purchased the Witch Queen expansion, Destiny 2, some kind of bundle thingy. It's so refreshing to see a game company standing up for the things that are important to.
picture to be a middle aged woman, wrote, "Hey, I've never played a Bungie game before, just purchased the Witch Queen expansion and Destiny 2, some kind of bundle thingy. It's so refreshing to see a game company standing up for the things that are important to me. Good job, Bungie. You've gained a fan in this middle aged woman who admittedly does not play your games, and even though she bought Destiny, probably won't like it because let's face it, it's not going to be her thing, and so she will no longer
Well, it's
spend
not
money on
Animal
you once you
Crossing.
realize what kind of games you actually make." Additionally, someone else called That Witch says, "This gets a follow and probably a new customer. I didn't realize I was in the market for a new game, but here we are." What is it with gaming companies giving the middle finger to their actual customers and trying to pander to people who, I mean, really will likely never purchase their products? I don't understand it. And I admittedly am not a gamer. I mean, I like mobile games, but my husband insists that that does not make me a gamer, which, okay,
Smart husband. The husband knows what's up. Mobile gaming is not. Animal Crossing is not being a gamer, okay?
is fair enough. And he also he teases me for actually spending money on my mobile games that I do like. But I mean, if he can buy Eveplex, I don't see what the difference is me spending some money on Murder in the Alps. I mean, right, they're both games we enjoy and they make us happy. So it anyway, moving on. And now some of you
Big
watching this may
regression
be
there.
wondering, why on earth
Digression.
would a video game company bother commenting on this at all, right? I mean, it's not like in
Yeah,
Destiny there's
no,
a part of
makes
the
no
game
sense.
where you accidentally get pregnant and then have to drive to another state because the one that you're in doesn't allow abortion and you weren't on top of things and waited too long to nip the pregnancy in the bud. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we are living in an era where
Basically
the
what happens,
personal
yeah.
is political, and unfortunately
Also, by the way, when there's this one of the defenses that people say it's like overturning Roe versus Wade would make rape victims unable to abort. No, you probably would still like you're most likely would still be able to, like, this is not your fault. This was like through a crime. Yeah, you would be able to abort. Like that's and especially like in the early, again, the decision is not like there's a time limit. If you're raped, like the first thing you're gonna do is go to the hospital and see what the fuck happened in your body. Like that makes like no sense. You're not gonna wait 6 months to be like, oh my god, I got pregnant. Like, no shit, 3 months in, you should see a belly. You should be throwing up at some point as well. That's so dumb that people think that's like if you were raped, you're not gonna be able to like have an abortion. Um, the other thing was like there was this PhD. Oh my god, that was so stupid. That's like if you have your fetus is like has a certain like problem and it's never gonna be a living baby and stuff like that, and it will most likely kill you. You still can't abort it. Like, no, you can. It's not gonna be a living baby. It's not a life. Like, you can abort it. Like that. So many dumb arguments come out of this, which is like it's so crazy to me. That's like that guy, for example, is a PhD. Like, are you fucking dumb? That's not what this is about at all. Like, that's this whole Roe versus Wade thing has been taken out completely out of proportions. It's crazy.
Unfortunately, woke corporate activism is something that is far too common nowadays. And so, not only are all multinational corporations at least a little bit woke today, I think owing largely to the fact that human resources and marketing departments tend to be, pretty female dominated and they're just very woke and it's a bad mix. But also, this now brings us to the issue of video games journalism. I mean, pretty much all journalism nowadays is openly left wing, but video games journalism specifically is just a whole other ballgame, as a
And
lot
it's
of
meltdown
people
over.
were made aware of with the whole Gamergate fiasco. And actually, when it comes to the issue of
Oh,
abortion
that.
specifically, we do have video games journalists out there pestering companies, video game companies, asking them about their position on abortion, which is just so strange. And we're going to be looking at least one pair of those journalists. But first, I want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor.
Before I get to the sponsor, dude, the gaming company. Ask it about abortions in their game. Fuck, it's a gaming company. Who cares their political stance? Every time a gaming company takes a political stance and not making their game better is a time where like the company is losing players.
Keto with Lauren. Weight loss is no easy feat. Trust me, as someone who just had a baby coming
And
on
she's
4
really
weeks ago,
expanding her
it is a
business.
subject that I am way too familiar with at the moment. And heck, even if you personally aren't trying to lose baby weight, then there is a good chance that weight loss is getting harder for you as you age. Studies
Yeah,
show that after a
usually
certain age, our body's metabolism can slow down by as much
35
as 4% every single decade. And what that
yeah,
means is that by the time we're 50, we can experience a 10% drop or more
or more.
in the rate
Yeah.
of our metabolism. And sadly, that just makes losing weight that much harder, which is why I and so many others are so thankful for.
I mean, look, okay, so let's say your daily metabolism 2000. Because here's the problem with like these, and like honestly, like again, this can help with weight loss. I'm not saying it won't, because like if it can increase your metabolism a bit, and you're still like it's easier to be in a deficit the more your metabolism is. Sure, whatever. Can it help? Maybe. Is it proven? I don't know. But here's the thing with metabolism. Usually, if your metabolism is lower, you're also eating less, just by default. As long as you can stay busy and not be bored, you won't be eating throughout the day. Like you can easily fast, you can easily have your 3 proper meals a day. Increasing muscle mass is also increases your metabolism. And honestly, look, when people say it's like, oh, just increase your muscle mass will increase your metabolism, you're not increasing by that much. Like you can also increase your fat mass and like burn more calories by metabolism, right? A 300-pound person with let's say only 50 pounds of muscle on him, like what's I don't know, whatever, like a six, so 16.66% of his body. Like I'm pretty sure that's not possible, but fuck it, whatever. Let's go with that. And then a 100-pound person who has 50 pounds of muscle the 300-pound person is gonna have way more metabolism, even if he's like 10, 20 years older. Like it's not that big of a deal. Metabolism is not like the end all be all. It makes things a bit easier to calculate stuff and whatever, but look, you eat less, you burn more. Like that's like metabolism is like it's not the main factor in weight loss. Let's just say it like that. But every little bit helps.
Keto with Lauren. After I had my baby, when I put my mind toward weight loss, this amazing keto powder was honestly the first thing that I turned to. And I've been telling you guys that it would be for months. And you know what? Thousands of other users online have also reported weight loss through this powder and given the product 5 stars. The summer is fast approaching, and if you're hoping to be beach body ready by the time the sun comes out, then there is no better time to start on your weight loss journey than right now. And Keto with Lauren is an amazing aid to help.
God, I hate like, oh my God, it's like everyone's taking the same marketing class. It's like there's no better time. You're beach body ready, be healthier, bro. Want to lose fat? This will help you. I don't know how fast it will be because it depends on you. It can be anywhere between X amount to Y amount, whatever.
Help you through this. So if you've been looking for a way to support your
It's like the more I hear this, it's like the less likely I'm to buy a product. So just give it to me straight, you know. Just stop with the like hissy pissy and like trying to get me like certain like buzzwords that are gonna be like, oh my God, beach body ready, and like, oh, the sun is out next month. I gotta start. I'm gonna do everything keto with Lauren, 3 workouts a day. I'm fasting, you know. It's like I'm just gonna do a 48-hour fast, and then every 48 hours I'm gonna have a keto with Lauren powder, and then I'm gonna work out 3 times a day. Man, I'm gonna lose all that, bro. Consistency, consistency, consistency. You know who gains like for example, right? Who gains the most muscles at the gym? Not the guy who comes in once a week and does like fucking powerlifting, lifts like super heavy weights. It's the guy who comes every day and does a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, but he shows up every fucking day and he puts in work. He doesn't have to put in a lot of work, but has to put in work. He will have way more results than somebody who does once a week, but he kills himself in the workouts.
your weight loss goals, you're gonna love this amazing supplement. And you can get up to 51% off for the next 24 hours by going to ketowithlauren.com. Again, that is ketowithlauren.com, and you can also check out the link below. So if you're looking for different factors which might have encouraged Bungie to make such an ill-informed political statement in support of Roe versus Wade, you need look no further than video games journalists. And I want quotes around video games and journalists, because what these people are doing has nothing to do with actual video games and is not journalism. So I mean, pretty much they're just online activists who like to
Yeah.
pester different corporations. But anyway, on my
Well,
timeline,
everyone these days is a journalist. She's technically a journalist. Anyone who has a comment about anything is a journalist. It's like everyone's a journalist.
the other day, I happened upon this tweet by someone named Nathan Grayson. It reads, New, Shannon Lau and I have reached out to over 20 major video game companies about whether they intend to speak up in favor of reproductive rights or provide monetary aid to employees. Just a few said yes, most said nothing at all.
And honestly, they shouldn't even like even the few that said yes should not have said that. First of all, who the fuck are you? Like, why do they owe you an answer? It's like, second of all, it's none of their fucking business.
Of course, they would say nothing at all. Why would they feel obliged
So,
to?
to be fair, even though it says a few said yes, it doesn't mean that they actually said yes. It could be like a coercion tactic to make other companies say yes. It's like, oh well, we won't be the only ones saying yes, kind of thing.
Say anything. You're pretty much just some crazy person on the internet
Yes.
pestering people who are trying to make video games about your pet political issue. I mean, if I were the person on the receiving end of your email, I wouldn't have actually said nothing at all. I would have replied with a string of profanities telling you where you can shove your little questions. But anyway, this individual writes for
Not a
the
good strategy.
Washington Post,
Ignoring is usually better.
and like I mentioned before, calls himself a video games journalist. And just so we can all get a sense of how objective his journalisming is, he recently retweeted this post. Quote, please do not publicly take a position on whether or not stripping a vast segment of the population of a fundamental right is bad. This notion of journalistic objectivity is anything but objective. It actively normalizes the heinous politics inherent in overturning Roe. So I mean, just based off that, never mind his
Mm.
profile picture, I think we can get a sense of what this piece will entail. And before we actually look at the piece itself, I also checked out the Twitter profile of the other author who this person wrote the piece with. And first off, no surprise, blue hair. Yeah, blue hair. And also on her Twitter profile, the Shannon Liao person, pronouns in the bio. So I think that tells us.
I don't remember who said this. But You know how like in the wild there's certain colors, like bright colors, like bright red, bright blue, bright pink, bright purple, stuff like that. Even dark purple, honestly. These are like colors that you usually want to stay away from in nature because they're poisonous. I don't remember who said this, but it's such a great way to know who to stay away from as far as people. Not, it's not necessarily like a general rule. I'm sure like a lot of them are okay, but it feels like a lot of them are also not very okay. Not trying to generalize, but just like something I noticed, like you know, like a subtle pink or whatever, like a bit of pink in your hair. I think that's fine, but it's like full on pink, man. Like I don't know about that, man. Like are you trying to be a character? Like how original do people need to be? Shit like that. It's like why do you need to be so original? Like you don't want to be a part of the human race or something? Like what are you trying to do?
Everything we need to know. Moving on to the actual article
She
itself,
is really
though, the sponsor
generalized
submit
based on
that,
the
quote,
hair
the
color.
majority of gaming's heaviest hitters appear to have
I guess
kept
me
both
too.
their mouths and wallets closed in regard to the Roe versus Wade news. This silence is especially conspicuous following the industry's near unilateral support of causes like Black Lives Matter and the
You know why they're near unilateral support? Like, sorry, the silence is especially conspicuous. Probably because when they were supporting all this shit, the the players didn't give a fuck. Because again, you're a gaming company. Shut up about politics. Make a good game. I don't give a shit who you support. Like it's like imagine like Walmart cashier is telling me, and I use this analogy way too much. Imagine the Walmart cashier is telling me it's like how much she cares about like BLM and all that stuff. Bro, I just need you to do this. Took, took, took. Put in my bag. Take my credit card. Give it back to me. Give me my receipt. I'm out of here. I don't give a shit about your opinions. Like, just do your fucking job.
the wake of George Floyd's murder and anti Asian hate as a result of the COVID pandemic. In both of these cases, many big companies released statements, donated to charitable causes, updated internal policies, and added in game features to allow players to express their support.
Okay, let's say okay. And here's another thing: if you're unilaterally support causes like BLM, right? Why aren't you going after like? Because again, like once you get into politics, you can't just get out. You can't just be like politics, half-ass politics. Like no, you're in, man. Like we want political, let's be political. Why aren't you admonishing the BLM CEO or whatever organizer that spent gave her family a ton of money for jobs rendered, like being an artist, being security. Meanwhile, didn't give as much to other people who were actually working those jobs. Didn't improve the lives of black lives at all in the places where they need to be. Instead, she moved out of the locations that are like mostly populated by black people and went to live in white neighborhoods with extremely expensive houses. Dude, she used BLM, she literally used BLM, made money, and bounced. And again, I'm sure a lot of BLM people were like super nice guys and they fought for a good cause. But the organizers were using their goodwill. And look what happened, let alone billions of dollars in damages in cities from the riots, right? So let's be real. Why aren't you saying something about that? Oh, because there's gonna be backlash? Well, guess what? Shut the fuck up. You're a gaming company. Make a good game.
Okay, if nothing else in this piece, I will agree that it is at the very least hypocritical for companies to be really out and about doing activism for some causes, but not others. And that is, I mean, that is the
That's what I'm
extent
saying.
of maybe even a nice thing or kudos to these writers that I will have. Because this next part is where things get really smarmy, where these writers talk about reaching out to different
Mm-hmm.
companies and essentially trying to coerce or provoke them into taking a stance on this abortion issue. And don't get me wrong, this is not investigative journalism. Investigative journalism would be a good thing, but what these journalists and so many others do, where they go up to these companies and they ask kind of these charge questions like, oh, so you're not going to say anything about women's rights being stripped away? Or, Oh, so you're okay with profiting off of hate? Like, they're not actually trying to get a good faith answer from these companies. They are, with their mere questions, trying to change these companies' policies. But anyway, they write The
To
Washington
an
Post
extent,
contacted
yeah.
20 major video game companies about whether they plan to make a statement regarding Roe's potential repeal or provide employees with monetary aid in places where abortions would no longer be available. Only Microsoft and Activision Blizzard responded with statements.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Microsoft has been the political game for a while, as far as I know. Blizzard at this point has to make political statements because they fucked up so bad. Like for them, any PR would be good PR at this point. So honestly, I would say Blizzard is probably, in my opinion, as someone who played Blizzard games, what Blizzard needs to do is shut the fuck up, keep their head down, and make a good fucking game. This is like the best time for them to stop talking about anything. Don't get involved with anything that is not your game. Stop it.
And then we have Microsoft's statement, which is ridiculously woke. They said Microsoft will continue to do everything we can under the law to protect our employees' rights and support employees and their enrolled dependents in accessing critical care, which already includes services like abortion and gender affirming care. Oh, wow.
I don't mind that. Anything that is within the law. They're not the ones making the laws, and if it's within the law, they're supporting their employees to do whatever the fuck they want, as long as they can be happy and do their job. I think Microsoft is totally fine with that. Like it's not their job. Again, that actually this statement, in my opinion, shows that Microsoft is trying to stay out of the politics. They're like, you know what? I don't want to get into this because I don't want to battle my fucking employees about their gender affirming care bullshit. The amount of money that what's it called that this would cost Microsoft is minuscule for what they own. Like okay, you wanna be a man, fuck it, go be a man. I don't care, and all the healthcare. There's a lot of benefits, and honestly, I would say they're just trying to stay away from politics by being, if it's within the law, fucking do it. Like we're not here to tell people what they can and cannot do, and I think that's a good thing overall. For Microsoft, is it good for society? I don't know, but it's not their job to dictate how society goes. So, for Microsoft perspective, I totally agree with this.
Accessing critical care, which already includes services like abortion and gender affirming care. Oh, wow. So not only are you pro choice, you're also like shoving in pro trans stuff, which I'm assuming you weren't even asked about. So woke virtue signal points just all around Microsoft. You're killing it. And they continue that this support is being extended to include travel expense assistance for these and other medical services
Sure.
where access to
Again,
care is limited in availability in an employee's home geographic region.
again, totally fine with it. They don't want to be a part of that problem. They just offer the solution and the benefit to work there, and that's it. Like they don't want to be in the battle. I don't think taking down a Microsoft is what matters. It's like they are a massive company, they can afford it, and if they didn't do this, I would say they would experience more backlash than if they did.
So, from what I understand, that sounds like Microsoft, much like Amazon and Tesla have pledged to do, are going to be paying their employees to have abortions, which is absolutely disgusting. And I want to ask, I mean,
I'm sure there are conditions applied with that, by the way. I'm sure not all employees get that. And even if they do, I'm sure there are certain conditions that come with it.
for all of these companies who say they're going to be financially
Like nothing in the world is free. Let's just say it like that.
donating to their employees who get abortions, are you going to be giving the same monetary value to your employees who actually have their kids who go through with the pregnancies? Because, I mean, if not, what you're
No, they're just staying out of it.
basically doing is just subsidizing abortion. That is
It's like this is like a very very crude exaggeration and like really taking away from the subject at hand. But basically, how come a person who has a smoke break and a person who doesn't have a smoke break at work because he doesn't smoke get paid the same? Like they get the same break deduction, all that stuff. Why don't I, as a person who doesn't smoke, get the same amount of breaks as a person who does smoke? You know, and how come we're getting paid the same if I'm working more technically? Overall, I'll be working in a month hours more if let's say we have the same shift. over and over, I would be working hours more. It's not, again, like they chose the best course of action to stay away from the politics. They don't owe anyone shit, yes, but also not supporting it is taking a political stance. It's easier to not, they're not really saying they're supporting it. They're saying if it's within the law, we'll let you do it and we'll help you with the financial. They don't have to. They don't. Yes, I agree. They don't have to. But I don't think it's that big of a deal if they do, because now they are avoiding the heat of people saying how evil they are for not helping people do that or some shit like that.
that is being pro abortion. And look, I'm not in the business of telling anybody what companies they should or should not spend their money at. I don't think it's my place to do so. Really, here, what I'm trying to do is let you guys know what's happening. But if it were me, I would not feel comfortable spending money with a company like Tesla, sorry, Elon Musk, or Microsoft, knowing that the money you're paying for a game could be going to directly pay for somebody's abortion. And the company
Again, I don't agree with this only because I really don't care about the subject that much. If you really care about abortions that much, to the point where you're like against abortions, then yeah, I understand how you wouldn't agree with the company doing it. But again, I would say these companies are doing it only because they want to avoid the backlash of not doing it. Like the backlash of not doing it is worse than the backlash of actually doing it. And also compared to like the money they make is like it costs them nothing really, and they probably write it off as a business expense anyways.
company also continues saying that other tech behemoths like Amazon, Tesla, Lyft, and Uber have promised monetary aid and, in some cases, legal protection to employees in states that will no longer offer.
That one, see, these are with this I don't really agree, because what Microsoft said is if it's within the law. These guys are saying even if it's not within the law, they'll offer them like basically lawyers and stuff like that to go through with it. I don't really agree with that. That's a bit too much. Okay, if it's within the law, I would say I don't care. Like it's yeah, it's not within the law. All they had to do is like, okay, we'll fly you out to a location that allows it or some shit like that. Sure. Instead of like legal protection, because that's like legal protection is like it just sends a too strong of a message.
For abortions. And look, I get it. Amazon, especially, is really hard to cut financial ties with. But if nothing else, if you are a customer of one of these companies and you have a problem with this policy, like I clearly do, what we need to do is let these companies know that this is not okay, that our dollars are on the line, because I am sick of companies being so afraid to offend the left. Meanwhile, just spitting on conservatives because they know odds are we're too busy with our actual jobs to make a stink about things.
Uh like this point is a bit weird. I mean, I'm sure plenty of liberals are working. Um, that's a hard one because it's hard to find a statistic for it. Um, I would say I can't even say that statement. I feel like it's just it's because Twitter is, like she said, a cesspool of liberals that their voice is just heard more. Even if conservatives were just trying to be just as outspoken, they don't have a place to do it. So I would say that's a bigger problem. And I guarantee there's plenty of conservatives that have just as much time as liberals and they're watching this and they just don't have a place to voice out because if they do, they're going to get banned on other platforms as well. You can voice it on YouTube and they're going to get banned on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, whatever, right? So it's like, uh, it's not like it's sometimes just not worth the battle, especially if they don't really care about the subject. Now, is this actually spitting in conservatives' faces? I would say no. Because if it did, if conservatives cared about it that much, they would not use those products. Yeah, Amazon is the exception, but it's like Microsoft, Tesla, right? And I would say, honestly, I'm pretty sure majority conservatives don't really use Tesla. Like, far majority. I highly doubt that a lot of conservatives care about like if they're driving Tesla, fuel, diesel, whatever. Especially if they're working people, like I honestly don't think they care. They just want like the best performance for what their job is requires, and that's it. And if they just need to travel, they'll just take like a hybrid or whatever, or just like a regular car. I don't think anyone really cares if they're driving a Tesla or not. Um, and what else was there? One sec. Tesla, Lyft, and Uber. I mean, very easy to avoid them with the local taxi servers, I guess. And honestly, I don't know how many of them actually use these services. Cook your own food if if you need to, I guess. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like four of these, like Tesla, Lyft, Uber, and Microsoft, are pretty easy to avoid giving money to. Amazon is a lot harder. But like, if it was really spitting at conservatives' faces, these companies will not be so successful because I don't think they can make that much money from what I would consider probably right now a minority, based on how it is presented, minority of the populace, or at least like clearly, based on what she's saying, liberals have more time, they work less, so who would be buying the Teslas? Probably more money is on the conservative side. Obviously, that's not the case, but based on the argument.
You have a problem with this policy, like I clearly do. What we need to do is let these companies know that this is not okay, that our dollars are on the line, because I am sick of companies being so afraid to offend the left, meanwhile, just spitting on conservatives.
The thing is, like, also there's already a massive shift, and the shifts will always happen. Like I think Jordan Peterson talked about, where it's like society will always keep going in circles, right? Like the whole like liberal and left circle is already coming to an end. Netflix is kicking out all the wokes. Elon Musk is like pretty much gonna be kicking out a lot of the wokes if they don't agree. Like he already said, it's like if I'm buying this and you still don't agree, like you have a month to get the fuck out, right? It's like, or whatever time you have to get the fuck out. Like it's not the and like a lot of the what's called the movies stop with their woke bullshit, or like stopping with their woke bullshit. Like they're just trying to make better movies now. There are still subtle hints at wokeism and stuff like that, like ridiculing men is a very popular and stuff like that. White man bad, all that stuff, right? But it's like it does feel like it's going away because people are sick of it, and like the whole like go woke, go get woke, go broke movement. I mean, it was kind of a meme in like 2018, I think, but it's like it will eventually happen, and like the more left companies will go, and like it's like it just depends on how many buttons of the conservatives you're gonna push until they stop buying your product. That's all it is, right? And it's like look now at movies, man. A lot of movies are not doing too good. Why? Because like they lost trust of the players of the viewers. In my opinion, for example, Aquaman 2 already lost most of its views. Like even if they fired Amber Heard, remade the whole movie with somebody else, it's because it had on principle it had come to the point where you needed to have this massive trial go on, even though people were already telling you for years that Amber Heard is evil, you need to fire her, and they still wouldn't listen. And only when the trial came out, they said we are reducing her screen time instead of outright firing her, even though knowing she abused him, while they kicked him for abusing her. Like they banned him from all their projects for abusing her, allegedly based on accusations. And with, I wouldn't say solid proof, but accusations that she has abused him, and they didn't fire her at all, bro. Just by that alone, I would bet like they lost at least half of their views already, easily, from the people who actually cared about this, right? Not that everyone cared, but it's like from the people who cared about this, half of them at least are not going to watch the movie now. And the more companies are going to do that, the more money they'll lose, and eventually they'll learn. Like that's how it is. Like it won't change overnight. It won't change with one movie or with one video game company. But yeah, I actually want all these companies go full political. See what happens. See how many indie games are going to become way more popular than AAA company games, right?
conservatives because they know odds are we're too busy with our actual jobs to make us think about things. Okay, but I mean, guys, it is time for us to actually let these companies know they can't just be open leftist activists and still expect us to give them our money. And then the last part of this article I just find kind of funny because a running theme in video games,
I must say, her eyes are like super clean. Like they're like super white, and like I guess she has brown, dark brown eyes or whatever, maybe black. I'm pretty sure it's dark brown, but like the white in her eyes is so white. I'm fucking jealous. I feel like mine's like always like half red or some shit.
journalism is that these
Not as clear for
journalists
sure.
hate gamers, which is kind of ironic because you would think that hate
Of course they hate gamers. Why would they not hate gamers? We're all misogynistic, or whatever the word is. Misogynistic? Yeah, misogynistic. We're racist. We're transphobe. We're homophobes. We're all boomer rednecks who like hates everyone who's not a boomer redneck. Like, yeah, of course they hate us. We have and we're also we are the reason for mass shooters. What else are gamers? Yeah, we're the evil of the world. Yeah, 100%.
if you're in this industry and you maybe I hope consider yourself a gamer too, you would not despise your fellow gamers, but it's happened time and time again. These people reveal the contempt they have.
These journals are never gamers. They claim to be gamers. They're the ones who review Elden Ring, die to the horse boss, and say the game is too hard for no reason.
Toward the people who play video games. When explaining why more companies maybe haven't come forward in support of the pro choice position, this article reads gamers have a tendency to bristle at issues pertaining to women, both in game and out, as evidenced by regular online blowups against prominent women in the industry, pioneered by 2014's Gamergate movement.
See, honestly, I don't even know what the Gamergate movement was. Like, I have no idea. But as far as I know, it has nothing to do with me. And I'm being lumped into Gamergate for like no reason. I don't care who's playing the game, man, woman, alien. I don't give a fuck. As long as they're a good player, they're playing with me. I don't give a fuck.
And a series of recent scandals surrounding sexism and corporate culture within companies like Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft, as well as on live streaming platforms like Twitch. Honestly, I want to say kudos, chapeau, good job to the video games company who just ignored these activists because these are not gamers and these are certainly not journalists.
Amen.
What these are left wing ideologues who are trying to bully corporations.
Here's the funniest thing though. I wish they listed the corporations that didn't participate, so actually the people who actually care about this would go and support those gaming companies.
Into not only publicly embracing their stance, but also paying for their employees' abortions. And to really
Basically,
illustrate the
yeah.
fact that these people are not in it for the love of video games and certainly not journalism, I actually looked through some of the other pieces that the first author
I actually wonder what does Microsoft make most of its money from? It's not even like really from gamers, really. It's probably like from computer manufacturers because they all run Windows for the most part. Because like I can't even think of like one Blizzard game off the top of my head. Maybe Halo, I guess. Age of Empires Remake is probably not like the biggest fucking contributor to Microsoft wealth. What does Microsoft do for its money, really? Like, it's not like gaming in Microsoft is decent. Well, I guess they own a lot of gaming companies you wouldn't even realize are Microsoft, but damn,
has written,
I
and
have no
they
idea.
are equally politically charged.
Xbox, I
Another piece
guess.
by this Nathan Grayson is on Twitch entertainment meets trauma as streamers cover Depp v. Her trial. And we also
Wait. What is XQC? Which is biggest English-speaking star? XQC is hunched in his chair with one leg up, staring at his monitor in rapt silence. Over 100,000 viewers watch with him on his stream as Amber Heard's legal team argues that much of Johnny Depp's evidence should be dismissed because he, in their view, has admitted to abuse. Langiel seethes as XQC seethes as Heard's attorney says Depp called Heard numerous vile names in a now notorious video of Depp trashing a kitchen after having his finger cut off. XQC shouts in
on
response.
Twitch entertainment meets trauma as streamers cover Depp v. Her trial. And we also have
Hundreds of video game developers mill about a I don't know if she's like, what is that about? Is that like saying that XQC is a sexist and he's taking Johnny's side or something? I didn't understand what that was about. Tons of video game developers mill about the cavernous expo hall. Booths for everything from established industry giants like Amazon and Unity to cash flush Web3 startups Gleam, Glitter, and Flash, all vying for attention. This week, the video game industry convened for the Game Developers Conference, an annual gathering of video game creators from across the world that in most ways resembled a return to the good old pre-COVID days, save for the masks on everybody's faces. Well, on almost everybody's faces.
The video game industry is back to in-person events for better or worse, and in
What?
this piece, essentially, this guy is just crying about the fact that social distancing is being relaxed because I guess he wants
Oh
to
my
live the
god.
rest of his life in a mask. What I think
Honestly, I don't even know what the tone of voice of that article is. I can take her word for it, but it's like it was just like it literally meant nothing to me.
happens with so many of these video games journalists is that they're not actually into games. They would rather be writing about politics, but you can only have so many
Politics in the gaming sphere, yes.
political writers. So instead, they choose to focus on video games specifically, not because they're actually interested in the industry, but because they see it as a group of people that they can try to bully into submission. So I guess the too long didn't watch version of this video
Unfortunately, a lot of gamers don't give a fuck. it's like it's like bro, we've been bullied for years by the gaming companies. What we don't even read Washington Post.
is that a lot of gaming companies, like all companies now, are bowing to the woke left, and this will continue to happen unless
Not all, just the triple A's usually would, yeah.
conservatives are as loud as the left in expressing their opinions. And guys, I wish that none of this stuff had to be political, but we can't continue just sitting this game out.
I would say the biggest problem with like why they would listen. It's not even necessarily to the left. Gaming companies listen to the people who complain because the people who think the game is good don't write about it and don't say anything about it. It's the people who complain that the gaming companies have to deal with because they're the ones who are writing, making videos, and like actively complaining about on Twitter and whatever. So it's like that's the only funnel of information the gaming company has. They don't have information like how many people are enjoying the game. They're like, oh well, we have 10 million people playing. Obviously, no game has that right now. But it's like we have 10 million people playing, and these 500 people are keep complaining. There must be something wrong with the game. What about the 9.999,505 people that are like still playing and don't complain, right? It's like, well, we can't know if they actually like the game. Maybe they just like don't want to complain. Like it's like I don't know how they take their statistics, but it's like it's. I'm sure it's hard for them to know if people are happy with their game or not to an extent, right? It's not like in Final Fantasy you have so many uh good reviews or like defending reviews of Final Fantasy. And wow, you only have negative shit. So it's
while
hard
the
to tell.
left spearheads every political movement that they possibly can, because that's essentially how you lose the culture war, which is what the right has been doing for generations. That's pretty much all I have to say for now, though, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out so much, and don't forget to check out Keto with Lauren. Until next time.
Thanks, Unhinged Rogan rant. Oh, that's when he said he can take Rogan in a fight or some shit. The approval ratings are great. Either way. I don't want to turn this into like a pure political channel, but there are certain political stuff that I will be interested in, especially when it comes to gaming. Gaming political stuff I am pretty interested in because I don't want affecting my games. That's been like a thing with me for at least 6 years now. Ever since like politics started getting into games, I was like, yo, like this is fucking bullshit. Like stop, just full hard stop, go into something else. Anyways, that was the last video for the day. Yeah, I hope I offered enough input on a 15-minute video. This has only been a 1 hour react. And hopefully Lauren Chen is okay with people reacting to her videos. And I doubt she'll ever see this, but fuck it. Either way, I do like the video. I think it's slightly biased, but again, she's not hiding her bias. She's conservative. She is really against abortions, and that's fine. It's her opinion. I personally don't care about abortions all that much, but I don't want it to involve my gaming companies, and that's where I stand with that. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.